All right, we're just going to go ahead and get started. So just a couple of quick housekeeping. I know we like to do this for all our online talks, but it's just I've been part of Smart Family since the beginning, and we started a couple of years ago. And we just had such a small handful of schools in Houston, and in the span of 3 years, we've really expanded our reach, not even just in Texas, but we're in other states as well. So if in the chat, if you don't mind, just so we like to see how we're kind of united in this mission across the United States in a lot of ways. If you don't mind just putting into the chat where your kids go to school and what state that's located in. I can't tell you how many times we have like 4 different St. Mary's, sometimes even in the same city. So if you don't mind just listening in chat where you guys are from. I do know like there's some schools like St. Teresa and Sugar Land that their principal is helping them with some service hours. So if that's you as well, please let me know that you're in here as well. That way we can make sure you're getting credit for that. And maybe they'll join a little bit later. Also, you guys can always just email me that as well. For those who don't know me, my name is Dean Kovacs. I am the Director of School Engagement here at Smart Families. A lot of what we're trying to do, I mean, really we're building up this community to really stand and push back against big tech. And we know that it's being engineered to be addicting. We know it's being engineered and the impact it's having on neurological development, emotional development, but also just even our spiritual well-being. And the biggest crux, there's so much research that's out about how the family is the primary, like, it is the force that is the connection. If you want the best, schools are important. Being involved with ministries are absolutely critical. But the number one research-backed way that how your faith is getting to transmitted for your kids into adulthood, it is your family life. The more that you're rooted as a family, the more that you're having these meaningful connections. It really is what drives this mission forward. Because if it's not the phone and it's not the family that is the part, it's no longer you're able to say, just get off the phone. Like maybe when we were younger and our parents were like, you're talking on the phone too much. And you just go click or you would get off. It's engineered differently. But even still, if the family is not that point of connection for everyone, that's not the thing that we're saying yes to, it doesn't matter if it's the phone. It could be something else that our kids are going to be chasing. Our family is really where it comes into it. And so what Paula is going to be our speaker tonight. She is our Smart Families Spanish implementation coordinator. She's also a therapist, and her most proud accomplishment is she is a proud mother of 6. And we are really blessed as well because one of those 6 children are here as well with Sarah. She is also going to give a little bit of her testimony as well, just talking about building virtues and routine and habit. But that's enough of me of talking. There's so much great information to be shared tonight. So Paula, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Dean, for presenting us. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen. So as this talk, we have called it Take Control of Your Life, How Virtues Lead to Healthy Family Habits, and how we're going to be seeing how really we need to take control of our lives. So we're going to be speaking about what is virtue, how can technology steal our time, a virtuous family system, and neuroscience and virtues. It's going to be very interesting because we're going to dive into a little bit of science. So what is virtue? I have chosen a very beautiful definition from the Dominican sisters. They have a really beautiful work on virtues and neuroscience in a book called Raised in Grace. And what they say about virtues is virtues are habits that help us recognize what is true and love what is good with ease and consistency. So this means that the focus here is on this definition is about in what is true and what is good, not just repetitive actions that lead us to human individual excellence, but actions that are good for us, for our families, and good for the world. You know, the goal here is even higher. Is actually going to heaven. It is not merely about being successful or having a clean room to be proud of on how organized we are. So we go beyond the human excellence. We are thinking towards heaven. and how these have been affected by technology. You know, we all have had this experience that technology overuse has taken away our freedom, distracting us from what really matters, family values and God. And let us just say some examples here about it. It could be in daily life, like checking work emails during family dinner, spending time watching news while your wife wants to have a conversation at night or want to have a prayer time, scrolling through social media feeds while children are trying to engage, interrupting a conversation because a notification came in, wanting to show others many videos about the same topic. And this is something very important that Tristan Harris has commented in a recent podcast. Like, there are some rights that we didn't know that were so much important, like the right of privacy. With technology, we feel like people getting into our homes, kind of, you know, with the tracking, with the algorithms. And we also kind of have lost the right to be bored. We always have to be doing something. We have to be checking something because then we feel like something is missing. So we are escaping from silence, from praying, from doing other things. And there is another terminology. You know, we have tons of new words with technology, and this is called brain drain, which is our brains very tired of trying to get in focus in something, because just by the fact that we have a phone next to us, it divides our attention. So we don't have that ability to think and function offline, even if we're not using the phone. And we cannot like think for longer times like we used to, going deeper things, meaningful, but we are just in response mode and not creating anything like really matters. And if we could say, you know, we have lost this peace. We feel more anxious. We feel in a state of restlessness because of the overstimulation. And if we could summarize all this, what is happening, we actually are losing the the potential of doing another thing, what we call it opportunity cost in economics, right? We are losing moments of doing other things, other opportunities, and that's very sad. And we have to face a fact, and I have to tell you, I know this is going to be new for you, but we have to face the fact that we someday are going to die. And we have very limited time on earth, and we have to know how we're going to spend that time. What are the most valuable things that to do with this gift of life that we have been given by God? So as Psalm 90:12 says, so teach us to number our days, that we may present to you a heart of wisdom. And we know technology has come in a way very, that unnoticed at the beginning. At the beginning, I'm talking about like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, my daughter is 25. And we thought that technology was just, the phones were just a toy. The kids were having fun with their friends. But, the devil, he comes hidden, so he can really capture our attention without noticing that is him. So the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But Jesus tells us, I come so that they would have life and have it abundantly. These flowers here represent the virtues of our families that we are meant to grow, that can lead us to heaven. And I have to say that I was that naive mother some years ago, and technology hit our family quite hard. And we're trying to recover, and we are working on it. So that's why every time I hear my daughter saying what she's is about to tell you, I had a pain in my heart. But I'm confident that Jesus allows us this to be glorified, and he can renew things, and that's why we're here giving this talk. So Sarita, here she is.
Hello, thank you so much for the introduction. Yes, I am her daughter. Thank you for letting me be a part of this talk. For me, it's really important that other people don't fall into the trap that, again, my family fell into, but specifically me as well, because everybody, I think, also has a choice in what they're doing, again. And it's been so special for me. I'm studying clinical mental health counseling at Divine Mercy University. But during my studies, I actually wrote a paper on it, a philosophy paper, and it's titled How Does Social Media Undermine Interior Freedom in Adolescence? It's a Catholic Christian meta model on the human person to how media detachment actually leads to flourishing and inner freedom. So you can switch the slide now. But this is a true story. It is my own personal story of how, like the talk says, I've had to gain control of my life back, because I, started with my flip phone, which I had at 9 years old, and it was like, oh, the messages or whatever, and then you want to jump to the next thing. Flip phone was not that bad, but then we go to the smart devices, which, as they're saying, they're wired to be able to hook you. Whatever it is that you're watching, it's going to show you more of that. And so I was spending so much time on this phone. I'm already so confused about who I am and my identity. And I was getting fed all of these things. This is who you are. This is what you need to do, right? And staying up really late, being sleep deprived, waking up to school, like already not with the energy that I need to have, and not developing the social skills that I need to develop, because again, it's telling you that you have this connection and all these different things that it's promising you that I'm going to talk about more, but it's just not true, right? And your self-image, your insecurities, all of that is coming out, and you're trying to grasp at something that you're never going to be able to really grasp at. So how do they do this, right? How do they get all these children hooked on these apps? Is through promises, which is the next slide that I'm going to be talking about. The promises of social media or technology is ones of connection. It's kind of like, look at what all your friends are doing on social media. Of course, you have to see, you have to stay connected to the news. You have to stay connected to the new trends, right? Even if now they have TikTok too, if you don't know the TikTok dances, then you're not cool at school. So it can feel isolating if you're not part of social media or technology in general. The second promise is this promise of self-expression. You can really be whoever you want to be online, and you can express your feelings and your thoughts, and everything is, there for people to see. So you feel like you're fully, yourself, when it's really, this persona that you're building in this website or in these apps. And then the last one is fulfillment. The big thing, I have to constantly check myself on is looking at pictures and seeing, oh my gosh, this person is so much happier than me. This person is so fulfilled. Like, if I just do what this person is doing or achieve what this person is doing, then I'm going to be happy. When in reality, it's really none of those promises are being, they're not coming to fruition at all. So if we go to the next slide, I kind of cross all of those out. And from my personal experience and the experience of a lot of my friends, it is just this endless game of comparison of, again, this person has this thing and I don't have it. And it doesn't feed into gratitude. It feeds into anxiety, because you're just realizing your life isn't good enough. The second thing is distraction. It's distraction from your true identity. It's distraction from time with your family. It's distraction from just being a kid and going outside and going on bike rides, right? I'm still very active, and I was an active kid, but even then, like, I think I could have been an even more active person even back then, which obviously feeds again to the poor self-image, which I was talking about, especially with young girls. I see it. I'm actually a mentor at a middle school, and you can tell the difference between the child that has social media and a phone in general versus the one that doesn't. just with the self-image, the things that they say to themselves, the things that they see, that even though they're not registering it, they're internalizing it as their own reality, right? So if you go to the next slide, it's how we get from that to freedom and taking control of your life, because it's never too late. Like my mom was saying, my family, you know, we've been doing so many things differently as a family, and even me talking to my siblings about my own experience. I don't want that for them. I don't want them to feel like they have to work so hard to gain their freedom back. And that's what my paper was about, was this freedom for excellence. And so the first thing for change is that self-discovery. It's the awareness of there's something wrong and I need to change it. And as a teacher, again, I always tell them the first step to change is always self-knowledge. It's being humble and admitting that you need to do something different. And so that big question to ask yourself is, what is impeding me from becoming the best version of myself? What is impeding me from self-actualizing? And then once you know and you're aware of your tendencies or the ways that you're most likely you're going to fall, if maybe you're sleeping next to your phone, or if you have the app downloaded, which is something I have to do now, is not have the apps downloaded. Then you're able to then make a courageous choice, because this choice is going to cost you. Another thing I tell my students is, you know, it's really hard to do this, but how much harder is it to not do it? How much more is it going to cost you not to have that boundary? Because then you are letting your freedom be taken away from you, right? So boundaries are hard, and you're probably going to be the least popular of the choices that, you know, people are making and the path that people are going on. But is it going to be the best choice for you? And then lastly is just that fervent relationship with Christ, which feeds the last two. Because if you are closer to Christ, you're closer to yourself, because he is telling you what is truth and what is love and how to love. Reading the Bible, going to activities that are going to help you just deepen your relationship with Christ is going to deepen your self-awareness and self-knowledge and allow you to have the grace and the strength which comes from above to make courageous choices. We are all called to be saints. It's our primary vocation before actually being parents or priests or your job, right? Your professional vocation. And I ask people, you know, how many saints didn't end up becoming saints because of resistance? And that is that difference, right? That you have to realize and you have to discern. And in my paper, I use one of the philosophers named Pinkiers, that he distinguishes the two different kinds of freedom. So you have to have a freedom for something in order to have a freedom from something else. So it's like a cost, you know, benefit. So you have to have a freedom for something that is potentially good for you or better for you, and a freedom from something that's less good or even evil for you. So discerning that and making that choice to be able to really go ahead and be bold in the way that you live your life. And so this all ties into how you're able to really make a virtuous decision to change your life and to take control. So that's kind of just how I feel about the topic. I'm very passionate. I tell my students about it all the time.
Why, right? We can say that it is very important to create a system at home around virtues. The idea is not to have just, as I was saying at the beginning, just a good habit of doing something, you know, for yourself, but it's something that is more lasting for your whole life, that is going to shape your identity, that you do it because it is who you are or want to be. So we have a vision of like when I will have my own family, how I'm going to be with my children. We have a long vision of it. The more a virtue becomes part of your life, the less you need reassurance, because you know it's good for you, it's good for everyone around you. It's not just self, you know, like I said before, to be proud of just whatever good thing you do. So when virtues are part of our family identity, we have more time to do other things. And we have to be that example for the family, because the environment is very, very important. So monkey sees, monkey do. And we are the living testimony for our kids, even if you think that they are not paying attention, even at adolescence, when you think that they are just focusing on their friends, that they don't care what you tell them, they are actually storing that information for later, for the future. They know that they are going to need it later. Unconsciously, they are getting all this information, and they know that the safe harbor that they have in their lives is their family. And as the author of Atomic Habits, James Clear, said, nothing sustains motivation better than belonging to the tribe. So when we have this belonging, that we are knit together in the family, through the virtues, we grow beautifully. And that's why we have to take the courageous decision of choosing Christian values, so that we are all together in the same direction and the same principles. And we do this in daily interaction with the small wins. So we have to ask ourselves, like, who is the type of person Jesus would ask me to be in this given situation? What are the virtues that we can work right now at this moment? And we can have many rules at home, like, no electronic devices in the bedroom overnight, no social media until the age of 16. First phone should be basic, and we have many rules. But the most important thing is that communication through the virtues in the family. And that's why at the Smart Families, we have the family code dinner, we have the family algorithm, and we promote these spaces for families to think through what are these values that they want to have at their houses, at the home. So environment is very important. Actually, my career, I was taught that the most important thing for a person to be raised is the environment. So actually, where we are experiencing at home something that we could call experiential lab. We are nurturing our children, and the way we nurture them, that's the way they are going to be raised. So environment is kind of the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. We're changed by the world around us. And this is like, if we think deeper, we need to imitate the Holy Trinity, that love flowing through our members of the family. And Dan Siegel, which is a very famous scientist, a parenting expert, he has called this the 4S. They are safe, seen, soothe, and secure. What it means is that children actually needs to feel to be safe, to feel that someone is seeing them, to feel that someone is soothing them, and they need to feel secure. And safe means specifically, parents have two primary jobs when it comes to keeping kids safe: protect them from harm, of course, and avoid becoming a source of fear and threat, just like God, that we always can go to God. He can forgive us. No matter what we do, he's gonna love us. So kids needs to feel that. If we reject a kid in a difficult situation, they will find another way, another person to talk about. We will close that door for them to come to us. So when there is a breach in your relationship with your child, reconnect, repair. You are your children's safe harbor. Now, what it means to be seen. Truly seeing our kids is about three main things. First, attuning to their internal mental state on a profound and meaningful level. Second, coming to understand their inner life. And third, responding to what we see in a timely and effective manner. This three-step process helps children feel felt. And I always say the most important time during the days when you pick up your kids from school or they arrive from school, those 15 minutes are so important. to hug him, to ask them how the day went for them, what happened at the school, and all that. If we are distracted, they feel disconnected. I can tell you that every time I don't do it, I just can feel the difference. They don't feel that they are important. Soothe. When a child is in a state, for example, of internal distress, that negative experience can be shifted by an interaction with a caregiver who attunes to and cares for her. She might still suffer, but at least she won't be alone in her pain. We don't have to solve every problem of the children. It's not solving their problems. It's staying next to them, that they feel that they are not alone, and they can find answers with our guidance, or sometimes just asking questions, they can come up with their own self-regulation. So based on this parent direct inner soothing, she learned to provide inner soothing for herself. So Dan Siegel summarized this in an acronym that he says that is PEACE. P for presence, E for engagement, A for affection, C for calm, and E for empathy. Secure, the 4S, results from the first 3. We give our kids a secure base when we show them that they are safe, that there is someone who sees them and cares for them intimately, and that we will soothe them in distress. They then learn to keep themselves safe, to see themselves as worthy, to soothe themselves when things go wrong. And basically, that's going to build their self-esteem, which, with technology has been very hard for the children. Self-esteem, self-image, all that what my daughter was just speaking about, right? So they know that they are loved. It's gonna be a buffer from all this interference with technology. And the sisters, the Dominican sisters, they took these 4 S's from Dan Siegel, and they kind of cross it with the theological virtues. So safe means, hope, seen, faith, soothe, love, and secure faith. At the end of the day, children, they feel that they are loved unconditionally. And that's, the love of the Holy Trinity. And we receive these 3 virtues through baptism. We don't have to do anything to gain them. They are just a gift from God. So it says, the Catechism of the Catholic Church says, faith, love, and hope guide, direct, and give life to all other virtues to build the childhood foundations of the Christian moral life. So they are the seeds for all the other virtues. Okay, so how in practical ways, we're moving now to the practical ways of our daily lives. How do we implement this? That sounds so pretty and uplifting, right? Use the language of virtues. Instead of shaming, reacting to the behavior, and calling the vice, call the virtue. Instead of screaming and looking at the wrong thing, try to ponder what happened there. Tell me more. What is the virtue that you could have helped, that could have helped you in this situation? So be more reflective, and that's why self-awareness is so important. And last year, I started this project with the virtues, more towards technology, putting the virtues at the center at the home, talk about the virtues. And Ashley, you wanna take here, because we have a surprise for all of you at this moment. Ta-na-na-na.
I would love to talk about our virtue cards. So Paola has been designing these and coming up with this idea for a while, and we finally have them all together and beautifully printed and ready for you guys to use. These are really cool because, as Paola is saying, we need to strive to live through our virtues and have centered on Christ. And what is pulling us away? I think these virtue cards would be an amazing asset to just my family and any family who wanted to live virtuously. But what's even special about these cards is that I think that the technology is pulling us away from our virtues the most right now in this world. It's online, it's scrolling, it's stealing our time. That's what's attacking our integrity. That's what's attacking our authenticity and our commitment to each other and justice. And so these cards are centered around the virtue, but also tied into digital ways of how to use them in the digital world and how to kind of combat what the digital world is doing to our virtues and to our morals. And so it brings in the digital piece with the virtues that we're struggling with. And so ways that we're using them in my family is we are going through and we pick one for an entire 2 weeks because I want them to learn the words. I want them to learn how it goes with the digital world. So like integrity talks about, it says thinking critically about information we encounter and share. And then it says distinguishing between fact and fiction, setting clear expectations in digital behavior and boundaries, and remaining respectful and truthful online and in person. And so this is what we go into these classrooms and we really talk about how to tell what's real and fake with AI and things that are shared but not being a reliable source. It's integrity of information, but also integrity of self and remaining who you are online and offline. And so if you have this card and you're talking about this as a family, the children say, oh, at Smart Families, we had that presentation in class. You're bringing this up at dinner. You're revisiting it for a couple weeks. However your family chooses to use it. There's so many ways, but we do 2 weeks and then we pick another one. And then another way to use them is after kind of we've gone through them a bit, we can take turns and pick one that we all want to work on for ourselves, like one that we're kind of feeling we're lacking. And then that could be that family member's focus one for 2 weeks, or however you want to do it. So there's so many ways. You could even just put them on the fridge, like take one and post it on the fridge for a couple weeks so that they really learn that one. And that's the family discussion for dinner that week, at least touch on that a couple times, or, post them in the mirror where they get ready or whatever it is you want to do. Or just you can sit down during prayer time and pick one and read it. There's so many ways. It's just nice to have a tangible piece in your hand that your children can look at, feel, see, read the words, and kind of use that as a tool for your family. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Ashley. So now, a very interesting part of this talk. What is the neuroscience has to do with virtues? Come on. Well, I'm going to tell you it has to do a lot of things because God knew what difficulties we were gonna have at this point in history. And as Cardinal Newman has said, to live is to change, and to be perfect is to have change often. If I say that same quote in the neuroscience world, that would be neuroplasticity. So God created our brain to be able to that we could shape our brain. It's not rigid. We can, it's just like plastic. That's why it's called neuroplasticity. And we can shape the brain through our experiences. That means, like in my house, I have virtues that are talked about, that we are speaking the language of virtue. The brains of our child are going to be wired into the virtues, in the virtue language. So that's why it's so important. And God promised us, behold, I am with you always to the end of the world. And here we are. And I'm going to show you this. This is the reward system of the brain. This is a model that I painted myself for my thesis, and just to let you know where everything happens in your brain about motivation, about habit building, and unfortunately also like addiction and things that we don't want to do but we do. That happens in this reward system. Basically, we have the red dot there is the amygdala, and the blue dot is the hippocampus, and they work together in emotion and memory. And whatever we learn there, if it is if it give us pleasure, then the little pink circle is the ventral tegmental area. That's where dopamine is released, and then it's sent towards the prefrontal cortex. That's the one that's going to control our impulses, and is going to make the decision. That's kind of, the wise part of the brain, as you have been learning throughout our talks, hopefully at the schools. So how can I see that in the virtue process? Well, we have this other model adapted by James Clear, and it's the same thing. We perceive cues. We see something that can be attractive or maybe not, and that bit of information is going to predict the actions that we're going to make afterwards. So that noticing is very, very important. And then when we notice if it is attractive, then we're going to have that craving, the motivation, force behind every habit, every virtue, the wanting. I want to do that. I really want to do this, right? And when I want to do that, then I go and make a response that is going to be maybe a thought or an action, which is the habit, is obtaining that thing that I want, right? And at the end, I can have a reward. It could be a negative reward, or a positive one. So for virtues, of course, we want positive things, right? And sometimes we could say that we are in a time that I have called it the dopamine battle, the battle of our time, because we are fighting for a time, and we are fighting to see what is going to give us pleasure, what is the things that are going to make us happy, and we really have to choose, virtues for our families. And we know how this story ended up. David, the little one, was the winner, and we can do it again by the grace of God. And virtues are very, very connected to the heart and to our call to holiness. And the Holy Spirit is the one that, of course, is gonna give us the strength to continue building the virtue throughout our life. And how we connect this with the heart. Why is it important? Because, when virtues are attractive, like I was saying with the cues, if we have a cue that makes a virtue attractive, then we associate that with positive feelings. So we move to the action, and then to the reward of feeling that, we are doing this to get to heaven. And that awareness that we were talking about is going to help us to self-regulate, to have to practice other virtues like temperance, moderation, integrity, obedience. Every time we are acknowledging the virtues that we're talking about them, is going to make us have many, many more cues that are going to empower us as a family to move to that positive action. And we can ask the kids when they have done a virtue, when they have performed well, how was that experience for you? And also when they didn't, how was that experience for you? How that felt for you? And that feeling and that emotion also is going to help them to discern what is the thing that they really want to do. Because God created us, in our nature, we know what is good and what is bad, and we feel good when we do good, right? We can say, tell me more, have this curiosity when actions are happening throughout the day. And sometimes we can get upset, but I'm telling you, pray to the Holy Spirit. That prayerful, that moment is going to be for you a teachable moment, and you are going to be able to also practice the virtue at that moment. So talk as a family about your feelings and thoughts when you practice or not virtue, online or offline. So this is the importance of thoughts, feeling, and emotion that can transform these cues we perceive and prediction we make into a virtue that we can apply. And to make it more simple, the 4 laws of behavior, according to the book Atomic Habits, then how we can create this virtue. Make it obvious. That's the cue. Make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. And it's going to be the opposite when we want them not to do something, right? So make it fun, catch their joy. Whenever you predict that an opportunity will be rewarding, we know that the levels of dopamine, the pleasure chemical of the brain, is going to spike in anticipation. So how can we make virtues rewarding? How can we make it fun? So the thing here is, even if you have 6 children that, like me, you got to know your kids. You got to know what they like. You got to get to know them personally, because we are unique, and that's a gift, but it's going to be a little bit harder on us parents, because then we have to really dedicate a time with every one of our kids. And when we know what they truly enjoy, I'm going to tell you, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So example, if they like doing crafts, surprise them with articles that invite them to practice the virtue of creativity, which also will strengthen their self-discipline, determination, and confidence. Show them, do not tell them what to do. That is the cue that you can leave something for them to see, and that sparkle, starting those cues will remove the stopping cues. The things like if they like craft, but you all the time have it in a shelf, then it probably won't happen. This is another example of a kid. He doesn't want to wash the dishes, but then, if you link something your child does not like to do with something he loves, like listening to music and singing, you gotta have the choice. Sometimes the music that they like is not our favorite, but maybe it's gonna be a good deal for you, building up this virtue. And in summary, starting cues work because they are unannounced. They are like a surprise. They are unenforced and unexpected. So these 3 words: attract, engage, and delight. And basically, this is what technology has done, right? These neuroscientists took this information about our brain and they put it into practice, so the children could be all the time watching at the screens. We can use it for the good, for the purpose that God created. So create your family traditions. We have many technology distractions, maybe many social invitations, many unnecessary meetings, maybe, or many extracurriculars. Think about, again, we have really short amount of time to spend with the family. How many times we have heard, oh, it went so fast. Oh my gosh, they are already 19. Oh no, I cannot believe it. So once a week, make it to happen. Something like a family play, like Lego, contest, trivia night, board game, walking to the lake, or whatever thing you all like. And sometimes we have to say no to other things. And also, how much effort is required that make it easy, to reduce the friction associated with good habits and increase the friction associated with the bad habits. And James Clear gives a formula in his book. It's called a stack habit formula. So after a current habit that you already have, then I will do something new. For example, after reading, I will go outside to play. And I did something in the house, like after you get into the room, nothing is on the floor, and I put a sign. I've been, doing different things, trying one thing and the other, and you could do the same. And if something doesn't work, well, you change. I always say a quote that I read once, that love is always creative. Love is always creative. So we have to think about what obstacles are preventing my family to live the virtues. A deep thought on that. You can take the question, think about it, because sometimes we don't notice it. And lastly, what about tracking? visual measures reinforce your behavior. They are just fun. Even, for people that they have addiction problems, they use this in many therapeutic settings, tokens and things that they can feel that they have accomplished in one day. They've been sober, or, and this is just fun when you have several kids to do it, and they sometimes even compete. Add a little bit of immediate satisfaction to any activity. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It has to be something simple. As simple, I'm going to tell you what, as a hug. Sometimes here at home, the only reward that they get is a long hug from mom. But sometimes we don't even take the time to do that. So the visual cue can remind us to act, and it's inherently motivating. This jar is another example we did here at home. I have a little bowl with a lot of gems, and on Christmas once I told them, okay, each one of you is gonna say a virtue that your brother, your sibling has practiced, and you're gonna say it, and maybe you can say, like, I admire you because you were so respectful with me that day that, I don't know, whatever happened. And then you put that gem on the jar. And I thought, oh, we are not gonna be able to put all those gems in the jar. There were many, many gems. And we actually ended up filling it up because I said, okay, let us keep noticing every time that someone does something that is virtuous, please acknowledge it. That has so much power. That's when you see the power of the virtues in action. And you can see the faces of the kids. They just smile. They feel like, oh my gosh, overwhelmed, but from happiness, not the other overwhelming. So anyway, it's beautiful. And I'm gonna just pass I forgot to say here, we have the examples of Benjamin Franklin. He had the 13 personal virtues every night. He checked on them if he had done it, just like an examination of conscience that also can help us. Virtues can help us to have a better examination of conscience. And there is the reference if you want to know where all this information came about, just in case. So that's it. For me, I don't know if anyone has any question. I think we're good in the time.
Yes, and so thank you both, Paula, Sarah. Amazing information. And as I'm drawn, there's a study that came out of the Future of Faithful Families project that talked about, what is the success rate of getting our children to practice the faith into adulthood. So they did a big survey, and they found that only 15% of families are successful about that. Well, rather than just stopping with that information, they went forward and went back and said, okay, what separates that 15% apart? What are they doing differently that is making them successful at doing this? And they found that they are doing concrete things. One, having a living, dynamic faith that's lived out. It's people are praying with each other. Kids are praying for their parents in the moment, helping each other out. The way they disciple, discipline, parents discipline their children isn't so much with shaming, as Paula mentioned, but it's more of calling on the virtue, as if you're walking and journeying someone in the faith. Because a lot of developmentally stages of our children, they're going through different stages of just toddlers. I have toddlers at home, and I've worked with a lot of teenagers, and surprisingly, they are like, their brain development is shockingly similar, right? I can, why did you get in the cat litter? That was the toddler, not the teenager. But, the response is, I don't know. And then the teenager, it's like, why did you throw that block of cream cheese in the parking lot? And they're like, I don't know. Their brain is both reacting and growing. That limbic system is growing very, very rapidly in both different stages, either forming or reworking and restructuring itself. And just all the information, I just want to say thank you again, presenting. It's super helpful, because those things that you're mentioning in here, put into practice, really does help build up the family. It really does help set the mission apart. And again, when it comes to technology, as Sarah, as you were saying, we need to put up strong boundaries, right? And so I'm going to do just one little push on this. If you guys have not signed the Smart Pledge yet, there's the link. If this is what we're aiming for, we know big tech it's $1 billion industry. and it's trying, it doesn't care about our family traditions. It doesn't care about making memories. It doesn't care about what your kids or your family are doing. They just want to make money. So we need good, healthy boundaries, because if we want the freedom to live as a family as God intended us to live, we need strong boundaries when it comes to tech. And that might just be even delaying into a certain age. And so, and I know this from experience of just when everyone's on board with this as a community, you can share this with those at your school, this link, you can share it with people at your church or whoever, whether or not they're a smart family school or not. Make that part of the norm. Share this with your community, because the more that your kids are around other kids that don't want it, they don't want it themselves. It's just kind of helping and protecting it and has to grow. To answer that question, no, if you signed it already, you do not need to sign it again. Once you sign it, it is yours. That is your resource and tool for you and your family. But I want to open this up to any questions. You feel free to hop on and use your voice. You can type it into the chat. Yes.
I just realized I didn't give my last example of the cues that I think it was kind of powerful. After the holidays, my children, they were fighting to each other so much. I was like, oh no, what is going on with this family? And then I applied the rule and I said, well, it's not a rule, the idea of the virtues. And I said, okay, what about if we pray the make me a channel of your peace after dinner? And I said, well, if I just say that, that's going to be a little bit boring. So then, okay, what about if I take my speaker with a microphone and put it next to the table? And whoever wants to do the prayer, then they can take it, they can do it. And it was amazing since I put that, remember that cue that was there. They were like, what is that for? It's for praying. Can I pray? Can I be me? Can I be me? So every single night they wanna be the one that does the prayer. And it has been funny because they have even said, can I make another prayer? Can I say another prayer? So it hasn't been boring. And actually I've been putting down the time, how many times they have been fighting now, and actually prayer works,
I can attest
I'm
to
loving
this.
your guys' comments. They're so wonderful, and I'm so grateful. I mean, I learned so much. I work with Paula, and I learn so much from her every time I speak with her. So I just kind of soak things in. I'm glad she was able to hop on and share her wisdom, and her daughter Sarah's wisdom as well. I agree. I'm going to implement a lot of this myself with my family, as I do when I hear the amazing things she shares. Are there any final questions or anything of the sort? I just want to make sure we have anything. If not, you guys have been awesome. I'm so grateful for you guys to share. But honest, we are going to share the recording. If you guys did not catch the discount link, it's up there as well for the virtue cards. It includes a little packet, a little piece of paper, or instructions, suggested use as well. I know Ashley went over a couple of those, but there's a discount code as well. But yes, just feel free to share this. We're gonna share the recording. If you have other questions as well, you can go back to our website at smart-families.org and just submit the question to the info, to the information, or down at the bottom. You can submit our questions. If you want to contact us, that email goes out to everyone. We're more than happy to answer any of the questions that come up or pass them to Paula or whoever it's intended for. Thank you all so much. I don't see any questions on here. So I hope you all have a very wonderful night. And thank you again to Paula and Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
having
Thank
me.
you, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Thinking in the
Bye. Thank you.
virtues.